And welcome to another AFIVA analysis video with me, Paul Ulele. With me, I have Ahren Posthumus, the CEO of Momint. Founded in 2021, Momint enables accessible funding and trade of solar investments with built-in wallet. They also specialize in real assets and legal contracts on the blockchain. Ahren, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What a great intro. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being my guest. Now, we all know the NFT space, which is where you guys specialize in, has been a new tradition over the last year or so. But our audience really wants to know where the journey for Momint started from.
Cool. Yeah. So the journey started in early 2021, like you said. So I'm personally come from a cybersecurity background, and so I had an area or skill set in advanced cryptography as well as in peer-to-peer networks. So that was one of the technologies that was really interesting to me. And NFTs or blockchain technology really is the marriage of those two. And in 2021, we knew that Web3 was going to be the future, right? Myself and my co-founder, Adam, we were convinced that blockchain technology would be the basis of the internet going forward. And so we were both really passionate. We were running a dev agency at the time. So we built tech for other startups and helped them raise money off the back of the solutions and technology that we built for them. And we really felt like it was our time to do something of our own and have that ownership. And the right thing had to come along because once I commit to something, it's for the next 20 years or more kind of thing. And it's really been a great journey. So we started off as the first NFT marketplace in the world with open free minting. Minting is when you create a digital asset or a token on the blockchain. And at the time, it cost between 50 to 200 Rand. And our whole thesis was this is going to be game changing for Africa because it's an opportunity to leapfrog the developed world, right? Like Web 2, we can just skip that phase for a lot of the unbanked or a lot of the population of Africa that are coming into the internet age for the first time, like now, right? And that was where we started. And then we felt more and more like the world or the blockchain world became very crypto-centric. It became very hype-driven. There was a lot of projects that were rugged, which means the value was taken away, or the utility was not delivered on those projects, and that was when we decided to pivot fully into asset-backed tokens because we felt like the best way to use this technology is to have an underlying asset along with the security and transparency that the blockchain provides.
So we know your recent NFT work. You sold NFTs of Nelson Mandela's house warrant, and it's
his warrant of arrest.
arrest. Sorry,
yeah.
House arrest. And we know this has caused a stare up within the South African people. But I wanted to ask you, how is the selling of these NFTs helping to preserve South African history? If these artifacts or if these historical items like his house arrest warrant has been sold to just random people across the globe, how is it?
Yeah, so that's actually a project that I'm incredibly proud of. So we were approached by Shinda's attorneys and Lilies Leaf Museum, which is the museum that actually holds the warrants of arrest. And this was peak COVID, right? So they're a museum, they stay open, they keep their doors open. They're doing, the whole point of having a museum and why the government supports museums is because they uphold our history, our heritage. Nelson Mandela is a core idol of South Africa and a pillar of our democracy, right? And they were really, really struggling, man. Their archive rooms were literally flooding. They had no money to keep the doors open. They were shutting down. And this was a project to try and raise funds for Lilies Leaf. A lot of people don't know, but or actually it is very well known, that Lily's Leaf helped Nelson Mandela escape arrest in Gauteng. He was later apprehended in KZN, but they were integral and part of his story in that whole era. So they have the warrant of arrest. They still have it to this day. And what we did was we created an incredibly high resolution digital twin. So now there's a full 3D model digital twin. You can view it in full 3D, even augmented reality. It's so crystal clear that you can see the pen ink bleeding through the page when looking at this model. And you can find it on Momint as well. And we raised about 2 million Rand for the organization. They got their doors open again. They were cutting their grass. They saved all of their archives. And the really beautiful thing is the asset stays there. The asset is still here in South Africa. It's never left the country. We get to keep our heritage. But additionally, now there's this digital twin that exists in the metaverse that anyone from anywhere in the world, man, like if you're sitting in America and you want to learn about, South Africa or Africans' heritage, you don't need to hop on a plane and fly down anymore. You can visit a virtual museum and you can get a really good look, and you can learn about the story. You can learn about the history that comes with that artifact.
That's interesting. And for people who didn't catch what he said about Gauteng and KZN, that's
those are provinces in South Africa. Yeah,
KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. Just a bit of geography for people who've never been to South Africa before.
Thanks. Yeah.
So just a follow up to so you talked about the Lily's Leaf heritage site. I read up that they have recently temporarily closed. I don't know if there's any plans to reopen. So I just wanted to know if there are any more plans inside, because I know you raised $130,000 with this NFT.
Yep.
Since that site is now closed, are there any other initiatives by Momint to sort of like, are there really any other alternatives where Native South Africans will benefit off this trade-off?
Yeah. So look, again, the asset will always be protected, and that was part of the agreement. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult position to be in. They're always teetering on the edge. Like I say, I'm really proud that we could help them reopen their doors and get an opportunity to start up again. But it is very difficult. People are still not going out. And yeah, I mean, we would be happy to try and help raise some funds and do another NFT sale for them. They haven't reapproached us. I will say, however, that the market has fundamentally changed from the time when we sold that NFT. We literally sold that NFT as the peak of the biggest auction in Africa that Momint hosted. It was the biggest NFT auction on the continent after some Bored Apes. And the market has changed quite fundamentally. So we're not hosting auctions anymore. We're focusing fully on tokenizing assets like solar assets. That's our core focus going forward. And really, that also stems from a dire need in the country. I don't know if your audience is all aware of this, but South Africa is currently undergoing load shedding. We're on 4 hours stints now, multiple times a day, every single day, the entire country. There is a massive risk that our grid will come to a complete failure. So what we're doing is we crowdfund solar installations for organizations that need them. We've done a school, we've done a building. We've recently just did a gender-based violence safe house that protects women and children from violent situations. So we're crowdfunding those solar installations. And then as the electricity generates, or as the solar panels generate electricity, which gets paid for, that revenue gets distributed back to the people who crowdfunded the solar installation in the first place. So for me, it's always been about how can we use this technology to solve a real problem and have like a real tangible thing behind what exists. It's not just a JPEG, for example. It has to have real utility for us. And that's always been one of our slogans. So that's where our core focus is right now.
Interesting. And you mentioned the load shedding. Ironically, I was actually supposed to talk with somebody from South Africa a couple of days ago, and they hit me up and they said load shedding is going to be from 6 to 10 p.m. I don't know if that's everywhere across the country, but but it's an interesting phenomenon, and it's great you also even mentioned solar, because that's the next segue into this. You know, you've done a lot of work in the solar space. You've it's included a plan to boost electricity generations using blockchain solutions. So I just wanted to know where the just if you could give us an update on this plan. Where are you at right now? The success, the high points, the low points, the you know, everything around that plan.
Okay, great. Good question, by the way. So I will give the highs and the lows, because obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The highs are I'm really, really passionate about what we're doing. I know we're solving a problem. The president of the country literally stood, he did a State of the Nation address where he said, please, we want every company, every individual, everyone in this country has to step in right now to help. Otherwise, we are going to be in dire straits. And that was part of the call to action that we felt. You know, as we're a South African tech firm, we're an African tech firm. And how do we operate if there isn't even electricity here? You know, so this initiative is actually a not-for-profit initiative that we've launched. So it's one of those. One of the low points is it's really challenging to explain how it works and what it is to people. There's still a ton of skepticism, and I think it's fair enough. That's also what makes it challenging, right? Like, I'm not going to go out and tell anyone that it's an unfair criticism to be skeptical. You should be skeptical, especially in the crypto space. But this is quite different. People can buy it without crypto. It's not based around crypto. You have real legal contracts and real assets that we've put on the blockchain, and you can buy that with fiat currencies, you know, like rands, dollars, pounds. It's not centered around cryptocurrency per se, but that's really the lowlight, and the challenge that we face is overcoming those assumptions, overcoming that skepticism. But it's gone really, really well so far, man. The solar installations that we've done to date will already offset more than 1 million tons of CO2 in their lifespan. We've sold almost 10,000 solar cells already. And yeah, like, the traction is starting to pick up. Those first few projects that we launched, the first 2 have completely sold out now. So our next 2, we're hoping to sell out. And we've got quite a pipeline of projects in the works, some factories, some hospitals. I'm really, I'm super passionate about getting some solar on a hospital.
Yes, that's very good. You know, what you're doing in the solar space. I just wanted to follow up in terms of, are you partnering with any solar manufacturing companies?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're blockchain and software experts. We're not solar experts, so we lean on a collection of really expert solar companies, Trust Solar, independent energy pools. These names maybe don't mean too much to the audience, but they're the biggest and most trusted brands in the country, busy rolling out solar. And really, it's also important to us that we tap into those partners, because there's also an issue with getting supplies down from you know, China or wherever we're importing the materials from. And so you need to have a good collection of individuals across the spectrum to make sure that you can get that over the line. So, I mean, they need us to help them secure the funding from South Africans and globally, because we have a global user base, and we rely on them to do high quality installations and to secure the materials that are needed to roll out solar across the country.
And let's talk about something that's a bit more lighthearted. Not that solar isn't lighthearted, but basketball. Yeah, I looked up and I saw. I think I'm a big NBA fan myself, but I saw that you've partnered up with people, and you launched and you've launched the world's first basketball team that is managed by and owned by fans here in the United States. So how did that process come about, and who is benefiting from that basketball team per se?
Yeah, so there was an incredible team based out of the States that reached out to us. This is very early days, and came to us with this concept. And of course, we were super keen, like the world's first ever basketball team run and owned by the fans. So the concept is naming the team, like picking the jerseys, picking players, everything is decided by the fans rather than just one billionaire who maybe owns the team. To be clear, it's not the NBA. It's a TFL, I believe, and I might have that slightly wrong. I'm sorry, basketball is not my specialty coming from South Africa. But yeah, that project is unfortunately in a pause right now. They're constantly engaging with their community, so they're still there, they're still alive, they're still got plans. But again, the market has been incredibly turbulent in the last 4 or 5 months. Even the last 6 months have been incredibly challenging for everyone in this space, whether you're NFTs, blockchain, crypto, or all of the above. I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, SVB bank failed. That's not even related necessarily to any of those technologies. The whole world's kind of going through the most right now, and I think that's kind of a post-COVID period. But also, we just happen to be in a cyclical recession. So I'm still really bullish on the project, and I think it's an incredibly good idea. And we're always passionate about doing new innovative things and giving them a try, man. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. As long as the people are there, everyone's driving the needle forward as much as they possibly can. I think that's what's important, and the community is important.
We look forward to more innovative things from Momint. Some of your services include partner solutions, service, self-service tool set, and access to API. So what type of these services would be good for businesses and or individuals? Which one would you recommend for businesses or individuals?
Yeah, so we've spoken a lot about the really cool projects like the Mandela one and the solar NFTs, which is a core drive of mine. That's really where the passion sits. But what you're asking about is where's the bread and butter? Not everything can be, just for good. We've built over the last 2 years an incredible tool set of Web3 tools that I think are really undervalued in the market. So for example, you can send NFTs just via an email. Our sign-up process takes less than 30 seconds. We've done some really cool launches with Burger King and PepsiCo, for example. They had their most successful marketing campaign doing an NFT launch with a South African artist, African Ginger, who's an incredible artist, by the way. So they did a collaboration with him and us, and an activation for Burger King and Pepsi. And they had like 70% engagement rates, whereas like email campaigns and typical marketing campaigns, we were told by their agency, you would typically get like a 10% engagement rate, and that would be good. So really, we've seen people use the technology in very innovative ways. We've got a company that's tokenized all of their gold and put it on chain using our APIs. So they're not even listing assets on the marketplace or anything like that. They're purely using the APIs to put their physical assets on the blockchain. And there's a lot of that work that goes on behind the scenes where we're helping, bigger corporates and companies get into the Web3 space, understand smart contracts. And our core focus has always been about like usability first and foremost. Just because it's Web3 doesn't mean it should be completely alien, to individuals. And we take an approach where we can make something look and feel quite familiar, sometimes like quite a Web2-ish experience, but it does run on blockchain under the hood, and that's what we try and achieve.
That's very interesting. Now, when we talk about the location is very important. So, based in Cape Town, and also based in London, done some work in the US. We're an African-based platform, so we want to know if you've done more work with neighboring African countries, maybe in the Southern African region or the East African region. And if not, are there any plans to expand some of these solutions, like solar power? Solar is a big a big phenomenon. A lot of African countries still have electricity problems. Do you feel like this is what would be expanded into these countries, or have you already done some work in these African countries?
Yeah, sorry, the little smirk is because I feel like you've been like sneaking under our hood here. There are some plans in the rest of Africa. Nigeria is a core market for us. We've got a sizable like user base in Nigeria. using the application and the wallet, particularly to do payments. So peer-to-peer payments is one of the functions that the Momint app has. And yeah, we've got an interesting partnership with Nodo News and Imogo in Kenya. So there's not too much I can really reveal on that, unfortunately. But all I can say is, yes, there definitely are plans. And man, like I'm very patriotic, and I'm here to stay. I'm here to solve problems on the continent, and I believe that Africa is the next growth market in the world. And I think there's no reason why Africa shouldn't be a global superpower.
That we look forward to seeing some of your plans in Kenya and Nigeria as well. You talked about the wallet, which is what I brought up early in the intro. There's an app where all this takes place. Can you give us just a brief understanding of how this application works? And is it available on all these platforms, on iTunes and all the usual?
So no. It's not available on the iStore, and the reason for that is because Apple wants to take 30% of every transaction, and a big portion of the activities that happen on the marketplaces are even just individual, like creative people, artists busy creating their work and storing it as NFTs. They sometimes sell those works to one another, and you know, we take a very different stance to the old like Web 2 companies that would take. I mean, Twitch takes like 50% of streamer revenue, right? Momint's fees are 1.1%, and we're hard on that. And if we were to be on the iStore, like Apple would take 30% of the creators' earnings. So we're a progressive web app. That means you can access it on a laptop, you can access it on an iPhone, you can access it on an Android, whatever you've got. If it's got internet, you can access it, and you can install it natively on your device. So this is an app. I've got it right over here. So it, like I said, it's got a wallet feature, so you can store cryptocurrencies in here, but you can buy and trade tokens just with a normal like credit card or debit card as well. You have a profile where you you can look at other people's profiles, and you can store all of your assets there. You can see some of my solar cells there. Anyways, let me put that away. It's not a screen share, so it's not going to be as high.
You give off some of your moves to the people. But
yeah, you can show what you've got, what you like to invest in, what you own. And there's also a feed, so you can see what your friends are buying, what they're liking, what they're commenting on. Like, it's meant to be a social experience.
That's interesting. So you can get this app on the website, right?
Yeah.
Momint.com. Okay, that's interesting. So what's your overall trajectory of this company? Where you see Momint, it's a fairly new company, but where you see it in the next 5-10 years, what do you expect to achieve?
Yo, man, you got really, really great questions. So our core focus for the next 2 years, and just because of the size of the issue, like I said, in terms of our internal company focus is going to be on solar. So that doesn't mean we're going to drop support for any of the social features or the art. People can collect each other's work for free. So that's one of the features that we have. There's an optional tipping mechanism. So if you're an up-and-coming artist, the thesis behind this is that you can post your work for free, and when someone collects it, it shows up on the feed, and it still gets your artwork more exposure, right? So we're not dropping any of that functionality or support, but the team's focus is going to be heavily on solar and tokenizing solar installations for the next 2 years. It's a dire crisis that the country is really in, and for that reason, it has to be the focus. For the years after that, I can see us expanding into some additional asset classes. So it's always going to be around how can we make traditionally illiquid assets liquid and accessible to everyone, man. Some of the best investments in the world are just not accessible to the everyday person. And I've learned some of this even just from spending time with some of our investors, right? There's a lot that you get exposed to in terms of privilege. I come from a fairly humble upbringing. And you see the types of moves that these people are making. They're buying barrels of whiskey or crates of tea, and for me, this is eye-opening, because I always thought investment means, a property or a savings account in a bank, and when you start to network with the upper echelons of the wealthy, you learn that a savings account at a bank is probably the worst performing like place to put your money in. Obviously, it's the safest, and there's still a place for that. People need a spread risk portfolio. Definitely not one of those Web3 guys going and telling people to put their life savings into anything. You should have a spread portfolio. But that's going to be the future for us. I solidly believe it's going to be tokenizing illiquid assets, making them accessible and liquid for people to buy and trade and have access to, whether they want to or not, man. Like the job here isn't to force it down anyone's throat. It's just to go, well, hey, whiskey gives a 500% return over a 10-year period, which is way better than the S&P 500. How can we make that available to anyone who's interested in that investment, such that they don't have to be in a crochet club or with certain personnel in certain spaces?
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Solar power, blockchain, even basketball. They do everything. Momint, watch out for them. South African startup company specializing in everything. Also, watch out for them if you're in a nearby African country. They have different solutions, and they're taking a big part in this new NFT space. Ahren, thank you so much for giving me some insight on this company. We definitely look forward to more of the stuff that you do. And you can visit them on momint.com. They're available on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and they also have a YouTube page. So you could probably see interesting videos on what they do.
Yeah. I just want to help everyone if they're going to go and look us up. It's MOMINT, like Momint, like you minting an NFT. That's where the play on words come from, because you mint NFTs. So if you're searching for it, just type in Momint with an I. That's all I wanted to clarify. Thanks so much for having me, man, and thank you for brilliant questions. It was really, really like fun and engaging to answer those.
No problem. We usually like to give insights on startups like yourself doing things and making a difference in African countries. So thanks, man. There you have, ladies and gentlemen, Momint, MOMINT.com. My name is Paul Olele. His name is Ahren Posthumus, and this is Afiva, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.